Welcome everybody to the Dad's
This is the
Doomsday
biggest car I've ever been in.
Today, it's the Dad's panel. George, Darius, and Tim are back. If you're unfamiliar with what that is, it's where we get a group of dads together and shoot the shit, offering up our experience, our wild successes, which I think you can count them on one hand between all of us.
And our deepest failures.
And our failures. Today we're talking about money, making it, losing it, and how we've started to take baths and dirty dollar bills that we earn stripping. All right, guys. How are you?
Amazing. Not very amazing.
Good.
You guys are talking like crazy before when I'm trying to do an intro.
Actually,
and once I say, hey guys, you're all quiet.
You know what? No, not good. Not great, actually. No, not fantastic.
Not fantastic at all.
No,
could be fantastic.
It could be better.
Yeah.
Can we perhaps address why you guys are in your cars, maybe? So the group,
Yeah, why are you guys in your cars?
Because we have kids. Kids.
Yeah.
It's credibility.
Yeah, they're eating lunch right now, and then Scarlett was pulling out clothes because Sada found a bunch of baby clothes. There's like clothes everywhere, and she's trying on shoes and painting. I'm like, okay, this is definitely not going to happen in here.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do this little get together, guys, for a dad's panel because I'm going to try to get people on kind of for the economy and for investing in different things. But I think it's been really frustrating for me as of late. Is that I'm sick of having no money, and the more kids I have, the less money I have, and kind of being stuck
another
in
kid. Why don't you have another kid?
Go for 4.
You need one more.
So I wanted you guys to get you going, not only because whether or not you're doing things that are making you money, which is great. We'll want to talk about those, but also maybe some things that you've done that haven't been so great, things you've learned from, things you can do better. I don't know. We can take it anywhere where you guys want to take it. But I guess to start it, do you feel the pressure to make some more money than you are now? And especially all of us live in California where it's very expensive. So, I don't know. How are you managing that? For me personally, I've had to like check myself a few times because I get really kind of like not just stressed out about constantly having to make more money. And I'm not necessarily like enjoying like the good shit that I have, right? You have a family, everybody's healthy. You want to, all those things matter. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I have to tell you guys a fucked up story. Are we allowed to swear?
Yes,
please.
This
is cool. Okay,
please do.
No, she rated.
So I was at a dinner, a business dinner with these guys, really close friends, right? And it was kind of like our celebratory dinner. This was about a month ago when you could actually go out to dinner. And the buddy I was with was like, "Hey, I've been thinking a lot." He's a business owner, and I realize it's not all about money. I over the next 10 years, I really want to work on the relationship with my family. That's what I'm focusing on. That's my New Year's resolution. And, it was like very deep, like almost brought a tear to my eye. Right. And so then he turns to me and he says, "So what do you want to do in 2021? And I said, "I just want to make a fuckload of money." and so, you can always make more money. Right. And with the challenge that we have as young parents, if you ask me, is that you kind of get into a job that has a set value that's going to return. Maybe there's a small fluctuation, 5 to 8%, but you have to find, concurrent revenue stream that may not be there. And so that's the challenge that you have to pile on top because, you get your raises at most of your jobs, right? Most corporate jobs give a 3% raise or whatever, but guess what? Like Whoppers are $2.50 when they used to be 99 cents. Gas was $1. Now it's $4, right? Those 3% raises are just kind of counteracting what's happening in our world today. Mm-hmm. So you kind of have to get your side hustle on. Mm-hmm. And, that's kind of the only real way to get an answer. So it's really tough.
Yeah. And that actually, that you said right now, it actually affects the quality of you can spend time with your family, what your friend was saying. Correct?
Well, that's
you have to do side hustles and whatnot.
Well, that's the thing.
I was doing a bunch of overtime, and because Sada got her job terminated. Terminated? Is that a word? Terminate?
Yeah.
Or maybe she got laid off. She got laid off because of COVID.
Terminated is better.
I like terminated better. It's like more intense.
I picture Arnold Schwarzenegger. You've been terminated.
Exactly. Well, nailed it.
Yeah, and then she made a good amount of money. Now she lost it, so then I've had to work a bunch of overtime. In the last 2 months, I did. like 80 plus hours. And that's like an extra job. I mean, I'm doing the same job. And that was just making me angry and tired. I wasn't seeing, my family and you could tell Scarlett wanted to see me more and was very clingy when I did see her. And then, so that makes you think like, oh man, I mean, it's nice to have that extra money, but I don't really enjoy doing more of what I already do to make more of it. Like if I really loved my job, then I could say, okay, like the stunt work and movies, that's fun. But even then, like you're still missing out on family. There's only so many hours in a day, So it'd be nice to have a side gig where you can make money and not be physically at that job. Just have
passive
money being made for you and not be there. Exactly. Yeah. So that's the hard part is finding that.
So that's a good point you guys raised. Is I think George, all you guys touched on it. Time is the most precious thing, obviously, to all of us. You want more time. You want ability to do different things with your family, and to do that, you need money. But to get more money, you need to spend more time working. And so, I think the trick is finding something that one you don't hate, like Tim was saying, to where you're doing something you like, kind of on the side. I don't know. It's hard because just what Darius was saying is like, I'm pretty much capped on what I'm doing. So like you only can make so much money. So then you're looking for like a side thing and then it's finding the time for the side thing. And I don't know. So far, I haven't been able to kind of like balance it really. I mean, it'd be great if something like creative, like Tim's saying, like if you're doing stunt work or film or something you really enjoy.
Yeah, but you're still having to physically be wherever you're at, to do that. Unless you're making a shit ton of money where you can work for like 6 months and not work for a year. That's different.
Or you have someone under you, right? I mean, for me, it's real estate. So I've taken into real estate and, passive investment, right? Have someone else pay the mortgage, but it's challenging. It's very challenging.
Real estate's a really good one to get into. I know a guy that's in that and he's doing really well. A couple of them.
So for me, it's about being comfortable in debt, right? Like when you grow up and you're young, you're always told like you have to pay back the debt that you have, right? Like you can't be in debt. You want to be a debt-free household. And what I'm learning is that it's not about debt. It's about cash flow. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like it's like a Ponzi scheme within itself. And the ability to like, you can have, I'll give you an example with my business, right? So I owe $20,000 and I'm collecting $40,000. But what I've been able to do is I opened a 0% credit card and I'm holding on to that debt, but it's cheap debt, mm-hmm. and using that cash for something else that I get paid. And so being comfortable in debt is very because like we have a ton of student loan debt. Anyone that's a young professional is going to have a lot of student loan debt. So you have to be comfortable with that debt and figuring out, not to pay it down immediately. Sometimes the correct answer is not to take all your cash and dump it into paying off debt. Sometimes it's to buy a house or, buy a car or buy, or invest in the stock market. So that's one thing I've absolutely learned is like debt is not necessarily a bad word. Cash flow is really the name of the game.
So do you feel pressure anymore in terms of that? You have to remind yourself, hey, this isn't a big deal, or hey, I'm not. Or have you feel like you're drowning every now and then?
In those drowning moments, they don't happen very often, but you have to come up with a solution, right? So you just have to find the next thing, right? Whatever that looks like. If it's a new credit card, it's a loan. It's like taking out loans aren't bad words, right? Asking your friend for some cash that you'll pay back over time. Like, I mean, there's tons of ways to kind of go through those opportunities to improve your cash flow. And that's really what it's about. And
I got to be honest right now. I feel like I'm drowning. I'm at one of those moments where I feel like I'm drowning. Like, and it's not, it's like, cause I'm a fixed income right now. Joy's still off because of the new baby. And, a lot of things are happening and I need a lot of things. And I mean, by need, I don't mean my survival depends on them, but there's things that I need to have. I guess I won't go into the details because I don't really want people to know like specific things that I need.
I don't really want to know about your dildo fetish.
Yeah. Some sexual toys that cost a lot of money. But, it is at a point now where I'm like, I need to make something because I don't have enough. My cash flow is not where it's not trouncing my debt. It's not able to get rid of my debt. And so it's not cheap debt. It's actually going to start, getting more and more expensive. But yeah. So I'm a little, I'm a little underwater right now.
Right. George, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I've talked the whole time.
No, it's
George,
good info though.
George, go, George. What are you feeling? What are you feeling right now? what's your financial status? You don't need to get personal. We don't need bank account records. But like, what's your game plan right now? What's going on?
Wait, hold on. Bank account number is what again?
That's funny.
Thing is, you guys have jobs right now. You maintain your jobs, most of you. I mean, all of you. I didn't. I've been living out of the unemployment.
Yeah,
money all this time, and thank goodness my wife still has her job, and it's a good high paid job. But other than that, but and that's fantastic. But you know, as a man, as a father of a house, you know, right? Mm-hmm. I feel a little bit sometimes underwhelmed by not having enough cash flow that I can help with.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
That is hard. That part is the hard one. Because if I was single, whatever, and I was just living on my own, I don't give me that money, the unemployment money. I'm fine with it. I'll survive somehow. But having a kid and having a wife and having a household, you know, it's just it's.
So you feel like just as a man, you don't feel like you're, I guess, quote unquote, providing in the classic sense to make you feel like, hey, I'm contributing to the family.
Deep inside, because all that's bullshit, right? I mean, if
we're all snowflakes, but you still kind of feel it inside, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's a little thorn, right there, just poking. But I got rid of my debt though. All the debt that I had, except for the student loan, everything else, it's gone. All my credit cards, I lowered down with all that unemployment money, so at least that helped. But that's good. But still have the student loans that are kicking in soon, and we still have a lot of things to deal with, and I'm stressing out because it's just that money's not there. So I've been doing some side hustles with special effects and some movie sets that I work on in the last 3 months, but it's not enough, man. It's just not enough. It's just very little, very sporadic.
Well, this year has been garbage anyway for that kind of stuff. So.
I want to ask George, because you've been directly affected. I know it kind of Tim feels, but because I haven't talked to you, George. So how do you feel about the whole COVID thing, how it's been handled in terms of economics? Like, how do you feel about that since you're obviously directly impacted by it? And then kind of in light of what you've seen lately with some politicians kind of putting in some strict guidelines and then they're seen going out and doing different things. Does that bother you? Like, what's your kind of take on all that?
Okay. All right. Well, listen, it's not easy for anybody. This thing, nobody knows how to really handle it because we never faced something like that in our time with our current technology and transportation and everything. This thing's spreading like fucking wildfire, right? Mm-hmm. So it's hard to contain it. And also, the politicians don't help a lot that we have right now and to control it, not giving a good example, of what you have to do. But no, I mean, the work that I do is proximity with other people, right? You have to actually be in contact with other people. So that's what it is. You can't have it. We can't do it. We can't do this kind of job right now. Mm-hmm. Even with the mask and everything, people are getting contaminated on sets. So
you're generally okay with it? The decision, basically, I know it was your company's.
Like they said before, if everybody stay in their fucking houses and really stay there for 2-3 weeks and nobody move, maybe we can contain this thing. But nobody wants to do it, and it has to do with the mentality, the culture that we have. We are freedom. We are a country of free. Mentality that we don't like to be told what to do and all that stuff. But people don't want to do it. Just don't like to be told what to do. So.
Well, like you said, it's so easily transmitted. Like, I caught it from a guy at work, and I'm like, how did I catch it from this guy? Because I was never near him, So I'm like, well, whatever. It is what it is. But it.
But your job also is a lot of contact. You have to be in contact with people, so you're gonna get it somehow.
Like, you're never gonna be able to stay home long enough to make it go away. Yeah, it's going to be here. So unless there's some sort of vaccine, maybe it works. I don't know. But it's always going to be here. Like, it's never going to go away. I don't see it going away. And you can't stay home forever or people will just go bankrupt. So it's a hard mix. Or it's a hard sell.
There's nobody to blame. Really, there's nobody to blame, to be honest. You can't blame
China.
anybody.
China.
I blame China.
Jesus Christ. You know, he's still saying China virus up there.
Yeah.
It's incredible. This guy is a clown. Oh my God. Jesus.
Oh, I'm just.
Don't want to get me. I don't want to get in that.
Just saying, like it came from that country though. Whatever country, if it was like a Swiss, I'd be like, it came from Switzerland. Like wherever it came from, it doesn't make it that virus. That's dumb. But the virus came from there. You know what I mean? So the government didn't do what it should have done.
You don't say that. You know, it's
yeah. I don't care about
people,
that. I'm saying the Chinese government messed up, and it came over here, and I think it got a lot worse, a lot faster than it should have. You know, we could. I mean, there's a lot of things.
What
I think went
are
wrong.
you talking about? Like, how do you stop a virus from coming across the country?
Sucks. Their government sucks. The Chinese government sucks.
I think
if you see what they're doing to their Muslims over there, they're a communist country. I'm not going to argue.
Guys, we're getting into politics.
Let's do it. Let's argue.
Let's get out of it.
Hold on. Because if it goes too crazy, then you can't hear anybody talk. But I do think that if the Chinese government was more upfront about, hey, what this is, and hey, we find it is very contagious, and not so worried about perception about what they've done or who it's infecting, then regardless of whether or not you think Trump handled it right or not, a lot of countries hopefully could have been like travel bans right away. We're not going to let this thing come here, at least as quickly. We're not going to allow international travel. And to do that, obviously you need your own country to take steps to do that, but you also need the country that it's originating from to do that. And so obviously China's not going to do that. They're not transparent in mostly anything they do.
Well, look at Italy. Italy got hammered, and they're pretty on it. I mean, they've got a good little country there, but they got just killed. Literally, like a lot of people died there, and they tried. I think it was just too late. By the time everybody found out, it was just too late.
Well, probably no. Go ahead.
There are people with antibodies that were tested prior to China even being made aware that it was there. If we're really going to do this, I mean,
yeah, back
no,
in
it's true. I agree. I agree with you.
So my point is, you can't possibly expect a country to shut down when they don't understand.
Yeah.
So, you know, I just think that there's a lot of American exceptionalism out there right now, right? Like, oh, this can't happen to me. We can't shut down. 1% is not that big of a deal. When people don't understand 1% of 330 million, right? Are we cool with 3 million people dying? I mean, I am. I don't care. But like, are we actually okay with that? Right? Or, heart attack kills more people. Heart disease kills more people, right? Well, those people had a choice on how they got to live their lives before they died.
Do you feel any sympathy, I guess, maybe that's not the right word, for the people, I guess, who are like losing jobs and, they're talking about suicide rates, that they are up. I know that's used kind of as a talking point to argue against lockdowns, but I have seen that is increasing. And so, like we were talking about earlier, the balance of shutting things down for, whether it is 1% or whatever it is, and, kind of destructing lives in another way.
If everybody wore a mask. Did you see the study
in Japan?
Hold on, let Darius answer that real fast and then do this.
Well, let me just. This is a quick comment. You see the study in Japan where more people died of suicide there than of COVID.
Yeah, it's going really
because high. Culturally they're different. I mean, there's a lot more pressure I think they put on themselves. So I think there's a different cultural thing there. But anyway, I just want to throw that out there.
Go ahead.
Right. Studies like that are troublesome to me because there's too many variables, right? Like like you mentioned, they're culturally completely different than us. Depression is clearly higher. Personally, to answer your question, Scott, I think all we had to do was mask up and protect those that are more vulnerable. And we never had to shut down. We had to shut down in the beginning because we didn't know what we were dealing with. See, that's the thing. People don't understand, like, oh, a strong immune system will protect you. No. Your body literally has never seen this before. It has never seen it. And nothing within it. It's kind of like after C. diff. Do you guys know what C. diff is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your intestinal tract is completely clean and you want to put the good bacteria in first. That's kind of how this is. We don't know what the body's repercussion is. I mean, people were getting their limbs amputated when this is a similar strain compared to like a common cold. It's a rhinovirus, right? So we don't know anything about it. So that's why we shut down. Now, does this shutdown help us right now? I don't think so. I think if everyone would mask up, socially distance indoors if applicable, and don't go out unless you really need to.
See, I'm okay. I think most people are okay with the first shutdown because, like you said, nobody knew what we were dealing with. People were trying to figure it out. But I think the subsequent shutdowns aren't helping because you have kind of crisscross guidelines. Like they see that video that's going around social media, that woman whose nail salon was shut down. And then she like pans over to this movie that's going to be shot in the parking lot. And they have like huge tents and tables set up for everybody to eat and kind of commingle. And it's like, you're literally that's not solving anything. You're just hurting one business and allowing another to continue.
Well, but again, I mean, do you think it's a coincidence that 2 weeks after Halloween, we're seeing spikes?
Well, I mean,
do we 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, we're going to be sub 10% bed capacity?
Yeah. I think
it's because you can't trust people.
It's part seasonal too, right? Yeah. No one's going to listen to that because you're not going to have.
What do you mean by seasonal though?
Well, you're going to have increases in the cold months and flu season. I mean, you do that anyway. I mean, you can blame it on holidays, but yet we had mass demonstrations through summer and you had people like kind of bucking the guidelines anyway. But yeah, but you can eat outdoors too. So, I mean, so
let me,
I think it's just selective rules that are being placed
say something real quick
on people.
Right. No. So when I contacted this guy at work, I had a mask on and we were around him like 2 hours. I was trying to stay away from him. I was helping him out. I mean, he had gotten in a car wreck and he was bleeding. So maybe he spit something in my eye.
No, it's just like the stomach.
But it's just hard.
You got it on the surface.
Right.
And then
so it's really hard. Correct. So, I mean, I caught it. It wasn't fun. It was like 3 days of like, oh, this kind of sucks. It wasn't, I mean, I'm a relatively healthy person, so it wasn't going to hit me as hard as it would hit our mom or a sergeant we had at work. He got it, but he always gets pneumonia and he's really, really not a healthy person. So it hit him a lot harder.
He got to go to the hospital, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not a good thing. None of this is good. I mean, I don't want anybody to die from it. It's just a shitty situation all around. And yeah, we're a huge country and nobody listens here. Everybody's like, nah, I'll do what I want.
I just think it'd be a lot.
Hold on. I ran to these two parents at a park with my daughter and nobody was at the park. It was just me. So I'm not going to wear my mask when there's nobody around me. And these two parents came up and I'm like, oh, I should probably, I'm not going to be rude to other people. And, but they had a total gym owners and they had a total anti-mask thing going on. And I'm like, you don't want to be like that. Like, don't be like, I'm not going to wear it. Cause they don't know. They've been shot. They have no idea what this thing is. Like, you can't be, I'm not going to be selfish towards other people. Other people don't want to get it. Just because I had it doesn't mean I'm going to walk around pompous and not wear a mask. That's irresponsible. So
you nailed it.
I definitely won't do that. Yeah. And I see a lot of people doing that. And that's concerning.
Yeah. Also mask watchers, right? That's the worst. Like if you watch the news or like any liberal circle, right? Like, oh, so-and-so didn't wear a mask on the sideline or, oh, that person's at the store, not wearing a mask. Like mask watching is like the new pastime. Right. And it's also dumb. I mean, I'm right there with you, Tim. Like, I think if we were just responsible, right? Like apparently, and this was before our time, but this was the same pushback that we saw with seatbelts, right? Like seatbelt, people were like, oh, government's trying to control us, blah, blah, blah. Now the risk incident of needing to use a seatbelt is, I think, 100 times less than catching COVID and dying because COVID's right around 2%. Yeah. And so, it's just, if everyone wore a mask, I don't think we would have to shut down. I mean, I've been golfing like 40 times. I've been out to dinner 30 times. Like my life really hasn't changed a whole lot. Right. Because you just wear a mask and I haven't gotten it.
See, that's where I'm talking about, since we're talking about economics though, that's where I get kind of pissed off because if I was affected personally by my job, like George or someone who's has a business and is getting shut down, I'd be pissed because like I'm wearing a mask, I'm having outdoor seating, we're social distancing, and now you come in and you're going to shut me down again. That's where I think they're overstepping because, like you're saying, Darius, it's like if you're requiring all your customers and your employees to adhere to the guidelines, then if it's that contagious to where all that doesn't matter, it's like, well, no one can just do nothing for like, what is it going to be, a year before we end up with a vaccine? I mean, you're going to cripple people.
Yeah,
Let me tell you something. Go ahead, George. No, you got a point there, in the sense of I will be fine being locked down and the industry shutting down, at least my industry of movies, right? But then at least get your game together with the unemployment. they shut it down. They just don't give any more money anymore, like substantial amount like they were giving before the summer, which was great. I mean, I was comfortable. I was like, okay, I can't go out to work, but at least something's coming. Now it's bad. And then they're shutting you down still anyway, and then don't help you.
Yeah,
it's like a mandatory thing.
Doesn't that infuriate you guys? It's like these politicians are shutting you down. They're not letting you get more money. They won't do a stimulus because of politics, and they want a certain person to win the election.
That's the problem.
They keep getting paid, but you don't. And it doesn't. I mean, it's so angry.
Yeah.
You ever heard of a poor politicion? Me neither.
No,
me neither. No. Gavin Newsom. I'm a Gavin Newsom fan 95% of the time, but you ain't poor if you're dining in a group at the French Laundry. I had to save money for like a year before I could get a res there.
Oh, you've got there?
No, we it was canceled during COVID, so we didn't go. We were actually
yours got canceled. Yeah, his didn't.
Funny, right? You know, and when you know you're going to be in the spotlight like that, right? Like you shouldn't be that stupid, and it's hard to take him seriously now, right? Yeah. Like, you know,
I've seen people who are kind of like on the. I'm a registered independent. I have beliefs that are conservative. I have ones that are liberal. And I know people, and I've seen people on Twitter a lot who are kind of lean liberal California people, and everybody hates Newsom now because he's being a hypocrite. And it's like, if you just do what you say, you'd have a lot more people. You wouldn't give fodder and ammunition to people who don't want to wear a mask, who won't wear a mask, who won't adhere to guidelines, and then just gives them ammunition to be like, hey, I don't need to because you're not. It's like a child watching a parent.
I try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, even if I don't agree with you politically. Like, okay, I'll give you a shot if you do a good job, but when you do stuff like that, it's embarrassing.
But you know what, guys, you know what? Horrible. Something too, this is happening not only here in California. This is the politicians that rule the whole thing.
Yeah.
Not even a good example either. That's we got to start with that one, you know? And that's made a major impact, you know, in what's happening right now. But anyway.
Well, and I think that the most important thing, like kind of bringing it back to like financial, is like there's always going to be this group that kind of runs the show, right? And we're probably never going to get there. We can try, right? But for me, it's like, how do I make the money within the confines of the system we're in right now, right? Like, I don't get a choice, right? This pandemic hit. So what did I do? I mean, I sold hand sanitizer. And I loaded up my car and my garage, and I sold gallons of hand sanitizer when it was tight.
That's like the prime example, though, of someone like
a good idea. Though. Really
it's like has a good idea, has to know how to do something, sees the need of like the market, and then goes and does it. Like you literally,
it's borderline fucked, right? Like I mean, like
well, as long as you weren't price gouging.
I wasn't price gouging, but I mean, I'm still eating too. Like it was. You know, I'm not charging $4 a roll for toilet paper kind of shit, but, you see a lot of ugly in society in these situations for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess.
Hey, I got another point real quick.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask Scott, because you work from home, right? Correct? Okay. So that's another thing. I'm trying to do side hustles, right? On the side with the computer, with graphic design, all that stuff that I used to do before the whole movie thing. But man, this whole homeschooling for the kids. If you have kids, that really is a handicap. It's a handicap. I have to be, my daughter is in 6th grade, right? I mean, in 1st grade. And the workload is unbelievable. So I have to be with her to help her. So while I'm trying to do something on the computer, which I hardly can do anything all day long. Because the assignments are like, we're working from 8 in the morning until 6 at night. Because it's like 20 assignments in 1st grade. Which is unbelievable. I never heard of that when I was a kid. It was like, what the hell is this? They're doing all kinds of high-end math at 1st grade. What the fuck is that? I don't understand that. But anyway, yeah.
I learned how to spell hat in 1st grade.
See, dude, I was doing letters, like following the fucking trace letter. I mean, it's just crazy. Yeah. But the thing is, it's hard to work on something else, being in your house. And now able to be out there working with a kid in it. I mean, and then they're not going to open schools yet. So what the hell do you do? I can't go out to get another work or another job if I need to, like delivery or something, just to make some, some money.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is, whatever I have to do, but I can't because I'm stuck with my kid, which is like which is like
a lot, yeah.
Not that I'm stuck. I love my daughter, and it's been great. I get the chance to teach her and enjoy her, but you know what I mean.
That's another reason about shutting down people's employment. You're not only shutting down their source of income, but now you're shutting down their ability, and then they have forced to watch their kids because they can't go to school, and now it just creates a bigger problem. It's a chain reaction that really sucks.
It sucks.
I guess so. Before I advance,
that's a bummer.
Before I advance this conversation, I wanted to ask you guys really quick. So you don't, because since we're on COVID, you guys don't prescribe to any conspiracy theory about any of this being a push for more government control. And this does come from an increasingly, in myself, I don't consider myself a libertarian at all, but I do see more and more of a reason, a worry about, certain rights, Constitution, whatever, getting infringed upon, and it's really easily not disguised. Not only like it's a sinister thing, but they're eroded in times like this, when it's a real crisis, a real problem, but yet certain things are done, like the Patriot Act. Certain things are done for the good of the cause that are infringing on your rights a little bit, chipping away at it, and over time it becomes a bigger thing than it is right now. Not saying like the master guy sitting there with, his glove and the claw, whatever, and like Inspector Gadget kind of pulling the strings of world events. But this is going to be another kind of step toward just more mass. Like, hey, no one's done it yet, where you have to do something. Like Darius's point was, we're like kind of a free country, or maybe George said it. We kind of want to do what we want. We kind of have that attitude in us. You guys don't prescribe to that at all. That this could be.
Dude, pandemics have been around forever. You know that. So that's not really. I don't think it's created just to.
Yeah, not saying it's created, but yet it's being used as a way for them to gain more.
Oh yeah, well
control. You think that
opportunity knocks. If anybody has power, is gonna take this as an opportunity to control. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? In some way. So yeah, there's some control issues there, obviously. But go ahead, somebody else.
What do you think, Darius? I think you might disagree.
No, I think. Well, I don't think me and George are off base from each other. I think when he's talking about control, and I don't want to speak too much for you, George, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's control that the government has to assert control of the situation, and there's no long-term impact. What I do believe is happening is markets favor volatility, corporations favor volatility. And so, like, the best example is toilet paper. Toilet paper has gone up 50% in price. However, production has not changed. They have kept a flat production. So Procter & Gamble, who makes Charmin, I think, is doubling their profit on toilet paper. It's a record year for profit on toilet paper. So these corporations are getting richer as people that are unemployed are getting poorer. So the wealth gap is changing. But I don't believe that there's any type of conspiracy. Anytime like a plant shuts down, I see, because I'm in chemical distribution. So when a plant shuts down, the people that own that company are not worried, because they know that with supply and demand economics, they can raise their prices as a result, and then they stay up high and make more money as a result. So no, I don't buy into any conspiracies. I think, quite frankly, conspiracies are hurtful in this particular case, right? Like, I think it's kind of like the 9/11 conspiracies where, we had 10,000 people die, right? Mm-hmm. Or maybe it was 11,000. I don't exactly remember anymore, but it was a lot. Mm-hmm. And, we're faced with a situation. And I think the ones that are actually going to profit off this are the ones that are the closest to a conspiracy as we can get, which are those private corporations.
I want to ask you this. What would make you what would raise your antenna up and go, okay,
can I throw something in there?
Yeah. And then I want to ask Darius something, or all of you something.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I mean, people are going to take advantage of the situation no matter. I mean, human beings will. They will.
Greed.
So it's just greed. I mean, but I do think in the whole, I don't want to go off too far into this topic, but the whole anti-cop thing.
Oh, anti-cop.
People are trying to take advantage of that. No, I'm just saying they're trying to take advantage of that movement about how they don't really want police to be, in jails. Like, there is a very select few people that really believe that we don't need cops. It's very strange. It's very few people, but there is a push. I mean, I've seen it, and it's scary because you need police crazy. And all the. Yeah, but it's a whole BLM. Like, I think certain sects of that BLM are okay. I think it's the whole as a corporation, whoever's the head of that, they're really pushing a socialist push where they don't want cops, and poor neighborhoods want cops. Like the poor people we stop like cops. Like we don't have a bad relationship with them at all. We just don't. It's more of the entitled, wealthy, young, kind of white kids that are really angry at police for some weird reason.
The fake wokes. The fake wokesters.
Yeah.
Those damn white kids.
Strange. Well, no, they're just the ones that are brainwashed into things. It's so weird though. But there is, and then there is some politicians that are pushing that.
I believe that's another power thing. They're just going whatever the political winds are blowing.
Exactly.
So let's grab some more power.
Exactly.
Yeah, so they can get reelected, right? Yeah. And make their $1 million and sign a book deal. Like I think
Right.
I just think going off what you said there, Tim, like for me to say that our policing system isn't perfect,
it's not,
makes me patriotic, right? Like, and so like it's gotten to that point where it's so polarized that if you say anything against cops, you are not blue, right? Like, and I love police, right? Yeah. And or if you say, like, it's so ridiculous how there can't be anything in the middle, right? Like, I love my country, but I don't think we're perfect. But if I were to say that on Twitter, oh my God, I'd get death threats, right? Like, because I don't fly my flag on 4th of July. I'm not a patriot.
You don't? You son of a bitch.
Well,
I'm too drunk.
Like how this election you look how the election took place, like it's very weird. Like you can't believe there's a few things. You can't believe in the earth's warming up and all that. If you believe that, you're automatically on the left. Like you can't be conservative, but still think that. You can't do it.
You can't be a free thinker.
No, it's like, wait.
Exactly. That's it.
You can't pick what you like and that makes sense. That really doesn't make sense. And if you're a Republican, you're pro-police. And if you're a Democrat, you're not. And that doesn't make any sense. But you started to see like Trump, all his rallies, and you'd see like the blue line flag. But you'd never see the blue line flag with the Democrats. And I don't know where it happened where he became like, oh, I'm the only one that can be pro-cop. That doesn't make sense. Everybody wants police. Like, it's just, even if I wasn't in the line of work, it's still concerning that one side's aligning themselves with police and the other side is like, nah, let's take, it's really weird how that happened. Because you've had, top Democrats are like, yeah, we don't back, defunding cops. Like, what is that nonsense? Yeah, it still aligned itself that way. And then you have certain people that think that, so they're flying, like it happened around here where they have these caravans. Is that what you call them? Right? Where they drive, and they'd have flags, like they'd have like 10 flags in the back of a pickup truck, and they'd be like the blue line flag and all these different ones. And that was a little concerning to me because it shouldn't be that way with anything. Like you can pick whatever you believe in and that's it. But
yeah,
that was worrisome.
Let me pose this to you guys and then let's jump on to the crypto stuff and the stocks before we run out of time. So there's nothing, especially Darius, because he didn't really buy into it. I think most of you guys don't. What would have to happen with the government where you'd be like, okay, this is starting to take some rights away that I don't think are justified under the situation. What would have to happen for you to be like, this is worrisome to me?
That's a good
I don't
question.
think there is anything. We are so large now. We are so large. We are 330 plus million people with groups that are so diversified within our government that the only thing I could potentially imagine is something from the president. Like, as we learned from the Trump presidency in term 1, there is a broad range of power that the president has that likely shouldn't have. For example, pre-pardoning people. What the fuck?
Oh my
How's that
God.
even a thing? How's that a thing? Or how about the tiebreaker on a judiciary confirmation for a Supreme Court, which is its own branch? The tiebreaker is the vice president. How does that make sense when the vice president is affiliated with the fucking president, who's the one that made the nomination?
So
right?
So I mean, like, I'm talking like in terms of like mandatory masking, like you have to, under law, you could go to jail if you don't wear a mask outside, if you don't do certain things outside. Would you be okay with that?
I can't run around with my dick out outside.
Would you be okay with that though?
You can. I don't know how well that go for you.
Exactly, right? I don't know who'd want to pin me down though. That might be a little too dirty, dude. COVID's the least of your worries in that moment. But
so you would be for a law that says you could go to jail if you do not wear a mask?
Of course, there's tons of laws, right?
See, that's where I wouldn't be supportive of that because like you say. We say it's okay, but depending on what you were just running down there, is like the kind of the power structure and how things are decided and everything else. What if there's a law that you don't agree with, right? So like, where do you draw the line of like, you can't cross this line, even though you might think it's okay for the whatever's going on, like the pandemic. So like, we should be wearing masks. But what down the road?
Scott,
what if down the road you get a situation where it's like, hey, this thing that you maybe don't take serious or you don't believe in, now they're passing a law. It's a different administration. It's somebody else that you don't agree with. Like, where do you draw the lines of like what's okay, what's not okay?
But I guess I struggle with your comment because you're told every day what to do, right? There's speed limits posted at 40, right? But I guess my point is like, so if they wrote a mask law, like how's that any different than a speed limit, or the fact that you're supposed to wear a seatbelt, or a cop can pull you over and give you a ticket?
To be honest, now that I've gotten older, I don't think there should be seatbelt laws except for children. Like, I don't think the government should have any say whether or not you wear a seatbelt and want to risk your life. Like, who cares? You know,
because in any moment you're not thinking about all the different
that's your
scenarios.
personal life.
Yeah,
that's your
like imagine you're driving with your kid. What do you think your kid is going to think if you careen out of your car and your guts are everywhere?
Yeah, but that's the government. It's not the government's decision to dictate what I choose to do in my life, right? I've gotten more. To be fair, I've gotten more libertarian in this in my thinking, especially with drugs and like all that kind of stuff. It's like, if you want to do that in your personal time and it doesn't affect anybody else, now you could argue COVID, you are affecting other people. But for the situation we're discussing, right, seatbelts, it's really, you're not hurting anybody else but yourself. You're the one going to be ejected from a car.
I'm going to throw this out. I'm going to
COVID.
Go, George.
Guys,
go.
The COVID, if you have it, you're a walking gun. You're a walking, a killing machine. You know what I'm saying? Well, so we should all have it, just as a collective society of well-being for everybody. We should have it. And if somebody doesn't want to do it, it's like somebody wants to stick up a gas station and rob because he feels like it. You know what I mean? Like,
but
it should be laws.
But I think with the mask thing, you can just easily get around it by just private restaurants and companies. Like, we won't serve you if you're not wearing it, which they're kind of doing anyway. And you kind of don't even need to go into the whole, starting to like, if you go outside your house and walk your dog, you got to wear a mask, you get a ticket, things like that.
Guys, it's a piece of cloth. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I don't mind wearing it. I
think it's the theory, George. I think Scott's kind of mentioning what the theory is here. And I think the problem here is that it's, Scott, I guess ultimately when you choose where you live, you sign a contract that says you're going to follow the rules of the land. And so if you don't agree with them, you got to move, right? Like that's part of living in a city and being a part of a county or a country. And so that's, I think you don't have a choice in the matter. Like, even if you don't agree, right? If that law comes up, and there's also varying degrees of enforceability, right? Like, a cop isn't gonna, like, texting and driving is illegal, but how often are you getting pulled over for that?
I got a ticket for it.
Damn.
Well, that's the thing, though, is you see these sheriffs coming out and saying, hey, we're not going to violate people's rights. And there is something to be said for that. You might not agree with it, but I mean, it's like, you can't, if you're going to be going into people or dictating people's homes, like whether or not they're wearing masks, whether or not they're eating inside or outside, whether or not, it gets a little dicey where you're kind of like, hey, the government should be involved in this, because I'm telling you, one day down the road, they might pass a law that you hate. So I think...
Wouldn't it be like a temporary law? Because, I mean, as soon as we get the vaccine or we get this thing under control, it will go away. Nobody has to wear a mask anymore.
Forever. You're going to wear the mask forever.
What you also need to remember is, for it to be a law, your elected representatives have to approve it and vote for it. Yeah. So quite frankly, it's on you as a citizen and who you voted for. Mm-hmm. Right.
Right.
So, and that's the other part that's hysterical. It's like, all these people, look, I voted for my boy Biden. I was riding with Biden. But
you mean hold on. You mean you voted for Kamala?
Oh, totally.
Biden's dead,
totally.
dude. He's doing 25th in a few years. So.
I love Kamala. So, but my point is, like, all these previous people that are snowflakes are like, hey, got to vote this time. And I was like, well, who'd you vote for in 2016? And they're like, oh, I didn't vote because Bernie didn't get it. And I'm like, well, what the fuck? Like, you don't get to complain about the rules if you're not going to vote when you're invited to the stage.
I agree. I agree.
It's crazy.
I agree.
No, and honestly, what you said is a good point. Like, I'd be okay if it was done on a local level, like some of these things, because you can choose what city you want to live in, what state you want to live in. So I'm more talking about like federal law where you can't escape it, and it's going to be like a blanket. You know.
Yeah.
I keep talking about we're going to get to crypto. I just wanted to ask you. So what if the vaccine that kind of concerns me too a little bit, because I've heard talk about you're going to get a card and you can't do anything, can't go anywhere unless you show a card proof you got vaccinated. And I'm like, I saw a doctor talking, and yeah, I'm sure eventually it'll be safe. But another doctor coming out and he talked about this thing, and I know you probably know what it was, Darius, because our wives are in the medical community, but it's something to do with like some weird reaction kids can get. And yet Fauci's out there promoting and pushing that kids need to get this, even though I just saw an interview with him last week that said, oh, kids are overwhelmingly not affected by this. So I'm just like, why would you give something that's new to a kid? I'm not giving my kids that stuff.
Let's unpack this for a second. So, PhD in chemistry.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I had a question. I had a question for you about the something else after.
Okay, so good.
How do you make meth? How is that process? Because I need some money.
Well, actually, you can see where I make it. That's right there. It's right there.
I love
no, so PhD in chemistry, scientifically published. Accomplished scientist, right? In my previous life, not getting the vaccine.
Why?
Wife's not getting the vaccine. I think it's been politicized, and it's also a new type of chemistry. It's
Thank you,
or biochemistry.
The RNA shit.
mRNA, correct. And I think if it wasn't so heavily politicized and kind of obviating the rules, and it feels sketchy to me, like we are talking about distribution of a vaccine that hasn't even been approved yet. Mm-hmm. It's coming in 2 weeks. It hasn't been approved. They're talking about it. They're voting on who gets it first. Hasn't been approved yet. Something doesn't smell right to me. Now, it's not about is it going to work or not work. It's about risk tolerance. Kind of the same thing with financials, right? I don't think my daughter at 3 years old, we don't know what mRNA is going to look like 40 years from now. Mm-hmm. And I don't want her to be like a fucking hunchback as a result of this or whatever. One TV show has fucked me up for the rest of my life. It was the 10 worst inventions of the 1900s. Okay. One of the worst inventions of all time in the 1900s was this thing at shoe stores where you could put your foot in and you could see what your foot looked like under an X-ray inside the shoe. Okay. Everyone thought it was great. Well, guess what? They didn't have any lead dampening fields. Every person that put their foot in that fucking thing got cancer. Oh. Every single one. And so we don't know what we don't know is my point. So I think my 70-year-old dad with Parkinson's, hell yeah. If my mom was still alive and she has high blood pressure and she's just a generally unhealthy person, hell yeah, she should get the vaccine. Right. But the reason Fauci wants kids to get vaccines is so that they're not vectors for their parents.
Yeah.
Right. So the kids get it, pass it on. But for me, I don't want that for my daughter. I don't think it makes sense. Now, if my wife sees this, maybe I'll get my ass kicked. But, you know, I just think they're looking to target.
I agree with you.
First.
I agree with you.
So
I'm afraid for that too.
So how are you going to circumvent this if we can't do anything? Because that's the problem. They can't do it by law because I think it is against the Constitution.
It won't be.
How are they? They're going to make you. You're not going to be able to do anything.
Hey guys,
that's not
the problem is that the schools.
Yeah, they won't let your kid go to school. They already do it in California.
They won't let your kid in. Yeah, they won't let your kid in. Yeah.
Right.
So Darius, tell us what to do.
So first and foremost, you can get a waiver for kids that don't get vaccinated. You can get a waiver.
Yeah.
You can also homeschool. So there's answers, right?
Ooh, don't
but also,
that.
I mean, look,
George, you just killed George.
George is like,
kill George.
But for me, it's just like any.
I'm gonna risk the hunchback thing right now.
Sorry, kids. It's your education.
No, like it's kind of like the PS5 thing, right? Like I'm gonna let everyone else do it, right? Mm-hmm. Like we're gonna, and then we'll see what happens, and then maybe I'll be waived too. But like, look, the phase 3 clinical trials for like 30,000 people, right? They're estimating to do 15 million people by the end of the year in I think California alone. I'm not exactly sure. It's a lot, right? 50, or maybe it's 15 million national. I can't remember, but it's still 15 is more than 30,000. So we'll get more data, and you start to feel a little bit more comfortable. Well, with this,
I heard 5 to 7 years is where you're going to really know long term if this thing has any adverse effects, especially for like kids and stuff. Is that in line with what you've seen research wise in terms of these kind of things? Or is that? I
don't know that one. That's a good question. I mean, for me, I also feel like this is going to be an annual vaccine, right?
Me too. That's
the rhinovirus.
Yeah. It's like this is
the rhinovirus. It's already mutated, right? So, and at the Ravens, the Baltimore Ravens facility for the NFL, I'm a big NFL guy. They had 4 different strains of COVID in there that wiped out 24 of their players.
Great.
So it's already mutating. So that's another.
This is the end of the world. That's it.
Yep. So
it's just the beginning of the end.
Are you going to vaccinate your kids?
Much.
Are you going to vaccinate your daughter, George? Have you thought about it until right now?
What?
That you've heard Darius tell you that you're going to be.
No. I already. What he said, I already knew a little bit about that fear about what the side effects could be. We don't know yet. It's been pushed, like he said. So it's scary. It's scary as hell. But,
because Fauci was on, I saw Fauci saying that he would like to see 75 to 85% of the population getting this vaccine. And I was just like, what? Well, like, I understand your whole.
Well, that's herd immunity.
I understand that. But I'm just like, there's just no way my kid's going to get it. He's not going to be they're not going to be test dummies for.
No.
Thing.
There's a stimulus. If you get it, you get $1,500. You know that? They're pushing that out.
Are you joking?
That's a new. No, I'm not joking.
1,500 or Hunchback. 1,500 or Hunchback.
The 1,500 or Hunchback.
You can store the money in the Hunchback.
Yeah. It's like a fanny pack. Yeah.
So here's my question. So my kids never got it. My wife didn't get it, and they were around me like 2 days where I was not feeling amazing, and I was kind of like, "What is going on?" By the time I figured out, like, man, I better isolate myself. I had already hugged them, and and so forth. And they never caught it. My wife didn't catch it. So for me, that was a good sign that kids aren't really getting it. Because I was around them more than this guy that I caught it from at work was around me. So they should have caught it. They just should have.
Well, there's some truth to like type O blood type has possibly more defense because your wife is type O and my wife is type O.
And what are you, Tim?
He's AB like me.
Negative.
So A negative.
Hey, well, what about this, guys?
Oh.
What if this situation, this scenario? If you,
I think Darius.
If you don't vaccinate,
go ahead, George.
Guys, the teachers should be vaccinated, the kids and the adults at home, but the kids doesn't have to. If you're vaccinated already in your home, right, and your teachers are vaccinated, they're not gonna get it and die. Why do the kids have to? You know what I mean?
Right. They're not really catching it. Right.
Well, I heard too that
if they have it, but you're immune to it because you have the vaccine, then why do they have to get it?
Right. But it's not hitting kids as hard as adults is what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, exactly. No, but I'm pointing out, this is another point. It's another scenario I was pointing out that maybe they don't need to vaccinate the kids necessarily. Just the adults. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if a teacher's not worried about getting it, they have some health issues, and they can go get the vaccine. If they wait.
Yeah,
exactly.
Same thing with kids.
There you
go. If kids are sick or have some type of comorbidity, like cancer survivor, vaccinate them. Right? Like it's just crazy. Now the problem I have with that situation is we're also assuming all the parents are going to get it, and based off our conversation here, clearly that's not going to happen either, right?
So here's my other question. Since I already had it, I was exposed to one strain of it. My immunity should be built up enough to where if I caught another strain of it, it wouldn't hit me necessarily as hard, or would it?
Well, we don't know that.
We don't know enough yet.
But it mutates. Yeah.
You cannot. You have to go for an antibody testing.
Hello.
Right.
Yeah. And so, like, our friend got it in June, and her antibodies are already gone.
Oh, fantastic!
Really? Well, I was reading that it stores in like T cells as well, so it's not necessarily just in your like the antibodies, but it's in the T cells, so it's stored somewhere else as well. Is what I was reading. I can't articulate it perfectly what I was reading, but they were saying that
antibodies were in your T cells.
I don't know. I do not know.
Oh. I don't know either.
Like,
I got a D in bio, so I don't know.
Yeah, I was reading that it may not show up in your antibody test that you have antibodies, but your T cells or something else. I could be totally wrong on this, so I hope nobody, But it says you do fight it more than what your antibodies do show. Like there's something else there. I'm going to say T cells because that's what I remember. But
so now we can just not only worry about your kid getting hunchback once from one vaccination, you can take them every year until they're an adult to see what this does to them over the course of a decade. Yeah. That sounds fantastic. Yeah. Well, hey, it's
like Goro from like Mortal Kombat. Like you just have like a bunch of fucking shit hanging out.
Oh, shit. Hey, really quick, let me advance this really fast because so I don't keep you guys here forever. We got so far off financial advice that we'll kind of get back to that a little bit. Stocks and crypto. Are you guys in that stuff? What are you doing if you are? And how are you making money? Hopefully,
I guess I'll go first. So I'm in crypto. I just have Bitcoin. I use Robinhood, I think is what it's called.
Robinhood's good.
And so, you know, it's a set it and forget it value. Like I think it's like 5 G's. And if I lose it, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. Mm-hmm. And if it goes up, great. Right. Like, cryptos are not secured. So they literally could zero out at any time and you just have to be comfortable with it. So that's why I didn't put more money into it. But for me, I have, in my E-Trade account, I just have 3 mutual funds, and then I have 1 YOLO amount that I put in. So, for example, I had Moderna, right? So, made some money on Moderna, flopped it over to Apple, and just kind of sit and let it run.
So, do you keep the crypto as a hedge? Is that the idea? Or do you believe, or do you buy into the whole philosophy like, hey, this is going to be the system, and this is going to be how things are, backed? No longer gold. It's going to be Bitcoin. Do you buy into all that, or are you just like, hey, if it goes up, it goes up?
Our money's not even backed by gold.
No, that's what I mean. But I guess the store of value, the role that gold serves. Do you think Bitcoin will take that?
The way that I view Bitcoin is, I just don't want to get behind.
What happened to George?
Hey, we hear you grumbling over there. What's going on?
George's getting towed away.
I can't hear nothing. Shit.
He just comes on, swears, and he goes back.
That's amazing.
Are you back?
It's not that.
Hello?
He muted himself again.
Guys, it's cutting me off, so I don't know. I can't.
There we go.
We got you.
We can hear you. Oh, he's gone again.
That's all right, George.
Back.
Just stay with us. I think his reception is bad. So Darius, talking about stocks, what would be your if you had to pick, what would be your biggest kind of like F up if you had one, like a learning experience? And 2, what would be your biggest like advice if someone was looking to get into the stocks?
Oh, I have F ups every day. So I'll tell you the one I did from Friday. So I get out too early. So the second I see like a great growth in a stock, I'll cash out. Mm-hmm. And so I'll give you the example for Moderna. When they got their first bump, I think they got to $99 and I had bought in at 70 or something. I made like 10 G's or something crazy.
Whoa.
And I was super stoked, right? I was like, fuck yeah, like I'm in, right? Money in the bank. So I cash out. Well, I don't know if you've looked, it's at $150 in 3 additional days. If I would have waited 3 days, I would have made, I can't even do that math, but it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so, that's the biggest mistake I have is I get a little too content with profit. And what I should be doing is instead of all or nothing, I should be doing like, let's say I have 100 shares, maybe cash out 30.
Yeah. Scale out.
Lower your risk, right? Lower the risk. Mm-hmm. And that's it ties into the advice. And I'm still learning, right? We're all still young and we have lots of time to fuck this up or maybe get better. Is like, it's all about risk and cashing out at the right time versus all or nothing. It shouldn't always be all or nothing when you're doing investment.
Yeah.
So you need to have a good diversification of risk.
Right.
Not just companies.
Well, I don't think it's bad that you do that, though. At least you're taking profit. Some people will just ride it out until it tanks back down because you don't know what Moderna is going to do. You don't have that inside information. So you're walking away with something,
Yeah.
If you do have inside information, hit me a text.
See, I should have told you all to get your vaccine. Then I could have made some more money on that stock. Damn.
I had I think it was Novavax or whatever. It was another one that was like it skyrocketed, but I only had bought a couple shares.
Can't put much in it right now, but I had Moderna for a little while, and I should have kept it, and I sold it. I think because I was going into oil and stuff, and I made a few grand on that. And I sold barrels, and I should have gone back into Moderna, and I didn't. Yeah, but I should have kept my money in Moderna. That was the one that was hearing. This was like back in March.
Yeah, but I heard I heard some shady stuff going on with Moderna though, because they were Jesus Christ, George. They were the whole thing's gonna be him cussing. Hey, buddy.
You there, George?
We can hear you. I heard Moderna had some of that happen because they were like, they would come out with some good information and then some of the CEOs or leadership would like dump stock. And so people were going like, what's going on? So I remember watching that on some of the business channels. But yeah, I mean, who knows? I wish I would have kept it, but whatever. What can you do? But crypto, that interests me more because, you know, I have some Ethereum and some different things, and I know it's outside of the Bitcoin standard, but I'm hoping that'll bounce and maybe make some money off that. But, you know, I don't know. I feel like it's gambling, and I feel like I'm kind of, every now and then I'll get too wrapped up in, hopefully an investment takes off and that's going to make me money. Whereas I think I should be focusing more, even though I am, on like side hustle stuff and making money that way. Because like investing should be.
I was telling you to buy like Tesla. Tesla was low, it dropped, and I was going to buy like 4 shares of it, and I didn't. And then they blew up. They just blew up. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have made a ton of money, but I would have made.
Yeah, we were talking about it when we first, after the crash. We were like, oh, this seems so expensive. And then they had the stock split, and it just keeps running up and running up, running up, running up. And it's like, oh my God, why didn't I just buy it at the time?
But I think it's important to remember that pandemics are cyclical, right? So all the lessons you're learning now are going to be effective again in 9 years, right?
Yeah.
You know, and is it going to be the same kind of pandemic? No, absolutely not. But the same behavior. So make sure you have toilet paper, right? And, you know, buy when everything's cheap, because that's what ends up happening, right? It's remarkable.
Yeah.
Hopefully there won't be another one, though. This was not fun.
I worry about it being more fatal. That's what I worry about. And then something that's, you know, people are kind of like arguing over how this one, you know, I'm not taking away from people who are in that 1%, because Tim and I know, Darius, you know, when you lose people, you know, as far as like death, and, you know, like my dad had, you know, the cancer he ended up getting was like 4% of the population gets. It was a really low number. It was like, you know, he's just got really unlucky like every step of the way. So I understand if you're in that small percentage, people going, well, most people get better, doesn't mean anything to you at all because you suffered from it. So I'm not like diminishing that. But if you do get something where like Ebola is like a 50% or 30% mortality rate, it's like wild.
Oh, that'd be scary.
Now, if it was this contagious in Ebola, holy shit, watch out. That's Mad Max stuff.
Well, if Ebola came to the United States, we would all die, because we can't what they did with Ebola in Africa was like ironclad, right? Like just slam shut everything. The protocols are crazy strict. With the amount of politicianing going on and the anti-vax sentiments, and not that there's a vaccine for Ebola, but like the same principles of like counter science movements, we'd all be dead. We'd all be dead.
That was a scary one. Yeah, that was a scary. What happened with that anyway? It just kind of, I don't know.
Go ahead, Darius.
It's contained. They cut it off. Yeah, they only brought, I think, 3 patients over to the United States.
What I've heard about Ebola is that it's you know, the symptoms are present, and you're able to have a chance to quarantine them before they start becoming like super spreaders, so you can kind of like bottle them up. Like with coronavirus, you can be walking around feeling like 100% and like spreading the shit. Yeah, Ebola is not that way. You have to be, I think, exhibiting symptoms to spread it, and they're able to like stop it. So I think it's just slower. So I think if you ever mix the two of highly contagious and deadly, then I would be all for draconian shutdown, like martial law to keep people inside. Because then it's like, man, this is gnarly. Like you can die. You literally, like George said, you are a walking like assassin.
Well, yeah, in the beginning it was kind of scary like that. March, you know, or February when it first came over, or whatever month that was.
Yeah,
that was a little concerning because nobody knew what it was, and that was a border on like, well, it's kind of freaky.
Speaking of finances, like when we talk about gold, Bitcoin, silver, and then having something like shit hit the fan, I don't think any of that stuff's going to matter. I think it's going to matter about what you have, like hand sanitizer. Like you're going to be trading goods. You're going to be trading. Yeah. You're going to be like, hey, how many packs of toilet paper do you have? Well, how many like, you know, boxes of ammunition do you have? Really, you're going to be getting into trading goods.
Yeah, it's goods.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense. Perfect sense, because what does it matter if your digital Wells Fargo
like hand sanitizer? Like,
I don't know.
Did you sell a lot of hand sanitizer?
Yeah, I sold like I think 6,000 pounds, and then I sold 6,000 pounds of hand sanitizer, and then I sold 50,000 gallons of alcohol. Yeah. For so people to formulate it. Yeah, we brought it over from overseas, and it was crazy.
Good idea, though. Good idea.
Before we wrap up the finances discussion, did you have any last words of wisdom, Darius? What you recommend anybody do? I know none of us are financial planners or experts, and I follow a lot of people on Twitter, actually, where I try to get some inside info. But the problem is with me is like there's a lot of people who are very smart and they trade, and they're doing technical analysis, they're watching trends, they're like really in it. I don't have the time for that. Like I'm just trying to do a side hustle, then trying to be like, I'm going to be, an investor and a trader. I find it very fascinating, but at the same time, it's tough when I'm relying on other people's information to like tell me what stocks to buy, Besides, if you're outside the big names, if you're trying to find a growth stock, if you're trying to find something that's going to blow up that you can invest in, I find it a lot more difficult. Are you dabbling in that at all? Or are you pretty much just staying with big names and trying to ride trends?
I'm a growth stock guy. So I'm not looking for the explosive overnight Qualcomm or anything like that. I'm the steady 8% a year kind of guy, and I'd be happy with it. So, not huge in that. What I am more fascinated with is having people pay your debt for you. So like home ownership, right? Mm-hmm. So rental properties where they build the equity on your behalf in a passive way is something I'm really getting into with my real estate, with me being a realtor and everything. But the only other thing I would say is, and this isn't for everybody, but what I've become is I've started to really harness the power of credit cards. So what I mean by that is we set up our credit card. So we have a Capital One Venture card. We set it up to pay the statement every month. So we never are paying interest charges, but we funnel 100% of our expenses through the credit card. 100%. Everything that can be used for the credit card, I take it. And what it's done is I haven't paid for a flight in 3 years. I haven't paid for a hotel in 2. And I buy like new golf equipment every 6 months or so with my other credit card. And with like the rewards, so it's all rewards.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Yeah.
And the key is you can, Capital One Venture. Yeah. Or what I'll do is like every 3 years, I'll open a new card. Like I just opened a Wells Fargo card that has a $500 opening bonus, and then I use that to pay for the new golf driver I got. So like, and then I just close it. I close it when I'm done paying it off, or like use 0%. But the thing is, like, if you're going to overextend, it's not a good choice, right? Like, if you are going to crawl into credit card debt, it's not a good ROI. But I haven't paid a single interest charge in 3 years, and so it's a great tool if you can have the self-discipline for that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try that eventually, because I've gone the other way where you crawl yourself into. So I
for sure.
Experienced that, and that wasn't fun. So So now I want to do the rewards, pay for flights and so forth. That is a good idea if you can pay it off every month and utilize the benefits of it. Yeah, totally. So I've been the other way into hell, and I'm not.
Oh no, it's horrible.
That's where I'm at right now.
That was not fun.
And it's over years and years of going. I'll pay it back later. I'll pay it back later, and I've let it grow.
If you are in credit card debt right now, what you all should be looking at is a 0% card. Like now, apply for it and get it, and then move the money over, and then that way you're not paying the interest charge. Because when I looked at like doing debt negotiations and training for that, they say that for every dollar you owe, the credit card company has made $5.
Yeah.
So like you pay off $100 of that debt, you feel good, but you've racked up 180 in interest charges. That debt value is going to continue to raise. So take it and move it over to a 0% for 9 or 12 months.
How do you feel about using your 401k to pay off credit card debt? Have you ever looked into that? I was looking into that. Just
I don't think it'll work.
Boom, done. But the fees you get are pretty harsh on the 401k.
10%.
Yeah, but you also can take out a loan against the 401k without the fees and use that to pay off. But then you got to pay off that loan.
You should keep your retirement. Maybe when you guys buy a house, you can use that money as penalty free. You can also use it whenever you have a child penalty free. Mm. That's a new law that came through.
Oh, I didn't know.
But I don't know what the time frame is. But for me, if you let's say you have $20,000 of credit card debt and you are a young professional, you should immediately call Chase Bank or look online, and there are 18-month 0% cards.
Yeah.
And you just dump it in there, and then you pay like, I think 2.5% for a transfer, but then it's 0%. You can focus on paying that off interest free.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a much better choice.
Well, it's been hard. It's been hard because I chose when I had a lot of cash flow incoming, and I chose to use that to invest in the stock market when it crashed, and then like crypto stuff, and not put that toward the debt, which I made the decision like, man, the returns are going to be pretty big on some of this stuff because it crashed so hard. That was my hunch. And then I might not get an opportunity like this for another 5 years, 10 years, these cycles. So I opted to do that versus paying it off. And now I knew this day would come where I'm just like, mother effer. Now I got to like grind to get it. And if things are slowing down, I could get maybe some extra jobs and just pay it off quicker. And I'm trying to do that more now, but it's like, it's just finding enough time in a day to be like, okay, I need to get this job to do this on top of what I'm doing to pay off this. And then I need to do the creative stuff that I'm trying to, put up. So it's tough, man.
It's a little hard to do with 3 kids. Like,
yeah. And then you're trying to spend time with your family so they don't hate you.
Yeah.
There's that too.
And you know what's hysterical is you could then so you do that balance transfer, right? It's just a big ass Ponzi scheme, bro. So 18 months from now, there will be another card that you can, in theory, let's say you just haven't given up the cocaine. You can, and you don't have the cash and you can't pay it off. You just move that again to another card. And it's just, you should never be paying interest is the moral of the story.
Yeah.
So
I think if I could give anybody advice, I think that would be the biggest thing is just avoid debt at all costs. Like really, I mean, school debt, hopefully that changes now, especially with this online stuff. We kind of see like, you really don't need to go. It's cool to go to a brick and mortar and you see like the actual campus. I mean, and that environment and getting away from home and living separately from your family and like growing up a little bit and stuff, like that's all good. But the outrageous amounts of money they charge for education now and the loans, I think that'll change, but we're stuck with that. Obviously some of us still, our generation, but if you can avoid debt at all costs, avoid it because it's a real bummer to pay back later.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, hopefully people found that interesting. I don't know if you had anything last to add, but I would say from our crazy conversation where we dipped in and out of COVID, government conspiracies, and financial advice, I would say biggest things are what? Avoid debt, use some interest-free credit cards, get a side hustle.
Avoid bad debt.
Avoid bad debt. That's right. You had that good point earlier. Get a side hustle going. Anything else I missed?
Wear your mask.
Wear your mask.
Yep. That's right. That's pretty much it.
And don't let your kids become hunchbacks. You got anything, Darius?
Nope. Check. All
right, guys.
Yeah, don't get vaccinated either.
And if you're wondering where George went, he dropped off the call because his connection sucks, and you might have heard him cussing on and off. But thank you everybody for joining us. Tune in next time for the Dad's Doomsday Guide. Yes. Dad's panel. Thanks, guys.
Take it easy.
Thank you for listening. Bye.
You've been listening to the Dad's Doomsday Guide.
So enlightening. I loved it.
Get more episodes and videos at themadmachinist.com.
Superb.
Oh, hell yeah!